Hello, kidney warriors. James here from Dadvice TV, your online kidney health coach. And this is Dadvice TV Live, coming to you on December 2nd, right after the American Thanksgiving holiday. I hope all of you had a wonderful time last week and got to enjoy meals with friends and family and people that you care about. Now, tonight, we've got a great fast-paced show. We're going to answer your questions live here on the air. And I'd like to say hi to all the regulars that I already see there in the chat. Look at there's Wisconsin Grandma. Hey, Wisconsin Grandma. Great to see you back again. Now, when it comes to getting questions to foods you should eat, where should you go? You can go online. There's all sorts of information. As a matter of fact, I've kind of been a little more active than normal online, going into a lot of groups that I belong to, and I see so much misinformation. Don't touch bananas. You can't have them. Oh my goodness. The best place to get information about what you can eat is a dietitian. And when you have kidney disease, there's a special dietitian just for you, a renal dietitian. Not all dietitians are renal dietitians. They're ones that get extra training for those with kidney disease. And we have with us tonight a fantastic and an extremely popular online renal dietitian. She has a fantastic Facebook group that you can join. Doesn't cost anything. Pardon me. Part of my Thanksgiving visit last week was getting a bit of a cough and a cold, and our whole family picked it up. But she's also got a fantastic website called plantpoweredkidneys.com. And she recently released a fantastic book that can help you. This is a thick book. Look how big this is. There is all sorts of information. There's even recipes, so many tips to help you eat great for your kidneys. And when it comes to eating healthy, that's one of the things we have control of. So let me go ahead. I'm going to bring her right on. Hey, please welcome Jen Hernandez. Hey, Jen, how are you doing?
Hi, James. I'm doing very well. Thank you. I might sound a little bit off, like I was just telling you before we jumped on live. The colds are going around. So I got to enjoy my cold right before Thanksgiving, and you got to pick yours up on the other side of that. So 'tis the season, but they're all things overall are wonderful. So very, very happy to be here. And I can't believe we're in our last live Q&A call for 2024 for us.
Yes, for the year. Not the last forever, but the last one for the year. But it's not going to be your last live Q&A, right? Because you do them on your Facebook group too.
Yeah, in our Facebook group, I post weekly Q&A threads. And so we are answering questions all the time. I'm going in there basically every day answering questions in our Facebook group. So, if you are looking to connect with me in other ways outside of just our live Q&A here at Dadvice, you can definitely find my Facebook group. Just look up Plant Powered Kidneys on Facebook and you'll find us. But it is a private Facebook group. So anything you share in the Facebook group will not pop up on your family members and your friends' feeds. So it is kept private within the group, but it is totally free to join. And it's where a lot of our members just find support. And it is a really great place, as you mentioned, people sharing recipes and sharing foods that they find, things that they like, asking, of course, their questions. So it's just a really wonderful place to connect. And I do share a lot of our resources from plantpoweredkidneys.com in the group as well too. So you got a ton of free education and support in there as well.
Yeah, and for those that are new to kidney disease, which every time we do one of these shows, we get a lot of new people. You, from time to time, will have classes available that people can take. And I'll tell you guys, I'm a kidney patient. I've been there. I was stage 5 kidney failure. They wanted to put things in my neck to do emergency dialysis. And I was able to work with my doctor, work with a dietitian, a renal dietitian, to avoid that. Working with a renal dietitian, in my opinion, is easily one of the best things you can do, because they give you skills. They just don't say, eat XYZ, goodbye. They don't spend 5 minutes only with you like your nephrologist. I just timed my last nephrologist. I was there on Monday, yesterday, 8 minutes. That's what I got. 8 minutes with my nephrologist. I spent more time in the waiting room for my nephrologist and for my labs the week before.
Yeah, it is
So,
unfortunate. And nephrologists, they have so much to cover in that short amount of
mhm.
time that they have. There's no way that they could even cover diet when they have to go through all the other things that are solely the nephrologist's responsibility. So I always tell people, like, don't bother hounding your nephrologist about diet questions. You're probably not going to get the answers that you want or the time that you want, like the explanation. But renal dietitians, like you mentioned in the beginning, I am a registered dietitian and I'm board certified in renal nutrition. And that means that I took my exam to become a dietitian. And then I took a second exam after 2,000 hours of working with people with kidney disease. I took a second exam solely on renal nutrition to become a board certified renal dietitian. So there's a lot of experience required, a lot of like additional pieces of evidence and proof that I have. And now I am known as a renal dietitian who speaks at national conferences, who wrote a book, and who's doing all these things, really just focusing on kidney disease and on renal nutrition. Thanks for writing the book, James. That's so cool. I'm so excited.
Hey, I have an entire collection of books. Some of them too hard to read and understand. I love that this is easy to understand. And we got to get to the question soon. I also love how you talk about the stages, because the stages are scary to people, but you talk about them in such an easy way. And you talk about it's more than just your GFR that matters.
Yeah. And I really quickly, because this comment popped out and it's my bad. So Mike said, "Oh, you said 2024. Is this live?" Yes,
Oh,
it's.
did you see 2024? Yeah, there it is. She just said 2024. It is 2025. Yes.
You guys, time flies when you're having fun. And I always have fun with James. So I
My
will get my.
daughter would be so upset if it was 2024 because she is now 7 months away from learning to drive, and she is counting practically the days until that
Oh,
gets here.
I bet you're excited.
Well, I actually am. We're
Yeah.
going to get a smaller car, so it's much easier for her to park and things like that. All right, let's jump into this question from D.
Yes.
D is brand new to CKD. Luckily, she found out early. She's 3A, and it sounds like she did like me. Used ibuprofen a little too much for a long time, and ibuprofen is scary. We can go to the dollar store. You can buy a bottle of it right off the shelf. A lot of nephrologists wish it was a prescription medication. Her doctors didn't tell her, she just learned about her kidney disease, but she also wanted to know about reading labels. What are some tips and what should she be looking for?
Yeah, and there's a lot to look at with nutrition labels. I mean, there's a lot of information on them, right? So I'll give a couple tips and then I'll also, shameless plug, I have a chapter in the book that talks about labels and how to read them. So you can definitely get all that and a ton more from the book too. I just don't want to leave you guys hanging. But the number one thing, first of all, is a nutrition label. Read it like a book, like top to bottom. That's really how you need to start, because if you start looking at just the potassium or just the protein, it's not going to make a lot of sense without the other context. And the most important context is the serving size, because companies can make up what they deem would be a normal serving size. Okay. So there is not a standardization across the board with what a serving size will be across different products. And some examples I've seen are like, I've seen a granola bar where the serving size is half a granola bar. Yeah. But they
Maybe
can
for a
make,
baby.
I don't even know. Like, who would be, oh, halfway? Well, that's it. I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
no, that doesn't make sense. But it's kind of manipulative that some companies, they can make these changes, because when they make some of these changes, then they can put like flashy cool things on the front of the box that they could say like, oh, it's low in sodium, because if only a half a bar is counted as a serving, then it's low sodium per serving. They're meeting this criteria of what low sodium is defined as, which is under 140 milligrams. So it could be that the whole bar is like 300 milligrams, but they're saying, oh no, but a half of a bar is low sodium. So that's the first thing you got to pay attention to is the serving size. Another really common example is like a can of soup. You look at a can of soup and you're thinking, yeah, I'm just going to dump it into a bowl and heat it up and that's my meal. But oftentimes a can of soup is counted as like 2 or 3 servings. And so you have to look at that serving size, because if it says 500 milligrams of sodium and you're having that whole can and it's 3 servings, that's 1500 milligrams of sodium. That could be an entire day's worth of sodium for somebody on a very low sodium diet. So it is important to start with the serving size first, because that's how you're going to kind of tell the rest of the information. So I did already hone in on sodium, which is a very important thing to consider, because most people with chronic kidney disease, regardless of what happened with the kidney damage, because the kidneys play such a big relationship in managing blood pressure, most people will need to be on a lower sodium diet or a low sodium diet. So this could be 2,300 milligrams a day. It could be 1,500 milligrams a day, or somewhere in between that. But sodium is often a concern. So another tip I have for label reading is, when you're looking at the label, try to see if you can find foods where the calories per serving, that number is bigger than the sodium per serving. So for example, a serving is maybe 200 calories and the sodium is 150 milligrams. That would be a better low sodium option, because theoretically you'll get enough calories without going over on your sodium. Whereas if you saw something that was 50 calories per serving, but 350 milligrams of sodium, it's not going to fill you up with calories, but it's going to give you a lot more of your sodium for the day. So that's kind of an easy trick that I like to recommend when you're looking at sodium on a nutrition label. Another thing to be looking at is fiber. And this is something that I think is really, really helpful, especially when you're looking between different types of carbohydrates. There's simple carbohydrates and there's complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are the kinds with fiber. So it is a whole grain, meaning the fiber is still part of that grain. However, there's a lot of products and there's things that have added fiber in. So you might see something that's more of a simple carbohydrate, but they've added fiber. But hey, they put the fiber back in, so that helps. But we want to get at least 25 grams of fiber per day for women, 38 grams of fiber per day for men. And getting enough of that is incredibly important for people with CKD, because it helps with blood pressure control and it also helps with blood sugar control. It also helps us feel full when we're eating our meals. It gives us that satiety, which is especially important if you are following a lower protein diet, because protein is something else that helps keep us full. But if you focus on your fiber, that's going to be really beneficial in a lot of different ways. So check the nutrition facts to see if you can find if there's any fiber in it. If you don't see fiber, it doesn't mean you have to find something with fiber, but be thinking when you have that can of soup, for example, think of how you can add fiber to that meal to make it more filling and more balanced. So those are kind of like a few tips on label reading. I really could go into like all the different parts of it. So if anyone has maybe a specific question that want to ask about labels, or again, if you want to check the book for the full chapter about label reading, we've got that there as well.
Yeah, and just like you mentioned, my number one thing is I watch the sodium, because that was my biggest challenge, is my blood pressure. And if my sodium's in check, next I look at fiber. That fiber is your friend. I love trying to get fiber. Sadly, I don't get enough of it because I love my carbs. All right, here's some other good questions. What's your opinion on eating dark chocolate? Looking at over 70% cocoa. She's pretty much eating it every day, and she's stage 3B to 4. Her labs are fine so far.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we've talked about kind of seasonally too, because chocolate and desserts, they kind of come and go throughout the different seasons, the different holidays. But yes, chocolate, we used to, and myself included, as a renal dietitian, 10 years ago when I was working in dialysis clinics, I used to tell people to watch out and limit and cut back or cut out chocolate because of the phosphorus. That was the primary concern. However, what we know now is that the phosphorus that's in chocolate, if it's organically, if it's naturally in the chocolate, meaning it's not an ingredient added to the candy, then that kind of phosphorus isn't very highly absorbed. So it's, even though if you, let's say you saw milligrams of phosphorus on a chocolate bar, which there's not a really good chance you're going to see that because phosphorus right now isn't required to be on a nutrition label. But let's say you did, and it said, 200 milligrams of phosphorus for this chocolate bar. You're actually probably only going to absorb about 100 milligrams or so of that. You're only going to absorb about half of it because the phosphorus, organically, naturally found in plants, is not broken down by our bodies. We do not have the digestive enzymes to break down and absorb that phosphorus. So that's what we know now, which is why, and I'll kind of spread this out across some different areas, whole grains, which I just had to tell somebody else on social media today. No, whole grains are okay. The phosphorus, this is outdated. Whole grains are okay. Nuts, seeds, beans, these we used to think were all problems because of the phosphorus. But again, it's not well absorbed, so it's going to be okay to have in moderation. Like, it's everyone's least favorite word is moderation, but truly, think about having more variety in your diet. So having some chocolate, you're not having 100% chocolate diet. If you're going to have a piece of chocolate, enjoy it and move on. It's not going to make or break anything. And then also the other caveat too is any kind of dietary restriction with kidney disease is going to stem from lab results. So understanding your kidney labs, looking at your phosphorus level. If you haven't had your phosphorus level checked, which is not a common thing at stage 3, your doctors might not be checking phosphorus until like stage 4 or stage 5, but you can ask them. You can let them know, like, hey, I'm kind of concerned about my phosphorus. I'm paying attention to my diet. I just want to see what my phosphorus levels are. Getting it checked once or twice a year. It doesn't need to be very often. But that's a good way to kind of get an idea too of how your body, how your kidneys are managing the phosphorus that you're currently eating. Because if it's in range, I'm definitely not going to be worrying about an ounce of dark chocolate here and there because your body is proving that it's managing what you're doing.
And I'm so glad you touched on the phosphorus here because that's another part of watching labels. That's one of the things I look for in the ingredients. I call it the sneaky snake. PHOS. If I see a lot of PHOS, which is usually those phosphorus additives, which we do absorb, if I see like 3 or more of them on there, it's 100% no, skipping that item. All right. Wisconsin Grandma has a great question for people who sometimes when they take their medication, which they need to take, it causes constipation. What are some suggestions that can help with that for people who have kidney disease?
Yes, and actually constipation is the top concern for people with chronic kidney disease for several issues. For one, like was mentioned, the medications, people with kidney disease are on a handful of medications, and those medications come with side effects. The other concern possibly is, as we also talked about, fiber. If you're not getting enough fiber, because let's say you're scared of potassium, because potassium is found in a lot of fruits and vegetables and plants, which also come with fiber. So if you're scared of potassium and you're trying to cut that out, you're probably going to really struggle getting enough fiber. So getting more fiber, even in low potassium forms, like raspberries are lower in potassium, but they're packed with fiber. So you can have berries that are typically lower in potassium. But again, just like phosphorus, if your potassium isn't an issue, including high potassium, fiber-rich foods are also really good too. Because if you have high potassium levels, it could be caused by the constipation that's not letting your body get rid of the potassium. So there's all these different kind of complicated cycles that are working together. So addressing the constipation can help keep potassium levels in check. So we've got the fiber, we've got the other one is hydration, making sure that you're drinking plenty of fluids throughout the day. Make sure you're spreading it throughout the day, because even if you're getting in a lot of fiber, if you're not getting enough hydration with it, the fiber is not going to be able to get places that it needs to get. It is not be able to get through your digestive system and move things through your body. So make sure that you are well hydrated. Another one is exercise, physical activity. So physical activity is really, really helpful to stimulate gut activity, especially after you eat. So if there's one thing, one type of lifestyle change I would recommend is starting to build a practice of moving after you eat. I know it's really, really easy for us to eat a meal and then just like melt onto the couch. But if we can, it doesn't even have to be dinner, like maybe breakfast or maybe lunch would be a better time to kind of start a habit like this. But after you have a meal, take a gentle 5, maybe 10-minute walk. And it doesn't even have to be outside. It can be inside, just kind of moving around your space, whatever works for you. But that movement really helps stimulate blood flow, gets everything moving through the gut. So that can also be helpful, really, especially after a meal. So we talk about fiber, hydration, movement, and the other thing too is stress. And it doesn't help anyone to be like, oh, just stop stressing, but look for ways to help manage your stress better, whatever that looks like for you. It could go back to the physical activity, finding something that kind of helps you, like yoga or stretching. It could be meditation. It could be therapy. Finding a therapist who can really help you with chronic disease management can be really, really powerful. But finding ways to help with stress, because stress does have a significant impact on the body and can manifest with constipation. So those I would say are some kind of the bigger ones to be really focusing on when it comes to constipation. And then finally, if you know that it is a medication that is causing a side effect, definitely let your doctor know, because they might be able to prescribe something different that doesn't have the same kind of side effect. So you can definitely talk with them or talk with your pharmacist about it as well. Don't make any changes to your medications before talking with your prescribing provider, though. That's really, really important. But, if you say, hey, I've been taking this medication and it's been like 5 weeks now, and I am just everything is slowing down and nothing's happening for me. Like, it is important that they know that, because again, that can reflect into other labs, and it's going to impact your life overall. You're not going to be hungry. You're not going to be interested in doing a lot when you're feeling like that. So it's important to get it addressed from that point as well.
Excellent. All right. Lynn went to a nutritionist today who's talking about the 9-inch plate plan, where 1/4 of it's lean protein, 25 grams of fiber, a quarter of starch, and half the plate is vegetables. I've heard of this type of a diet, or an eating plan is probably more like it. Are you in agreement with this, is what she's asking. And she's 3A CKD. So luckily she's found out what I consider a bit early, which gives her plenty of time to start making these healthy lifestyle choices that are not only going to be good for her kidneys, but good for her longevity.
Yeah, well, you know what? Spoiler alert, like this is 100% approved, and it's basically just general healthy eating. So this is, for those of us from back in the day, you might have heard of like the food pyramid. Like, this is what we used to talk about, is like, this is the healthy way of eating, and there's the pyramid with the grains on the bottom and all of this. It's been replaced with My Plate, which is basically what is being explained here. So My Plate is a plate visual where half the plate is coming from veggies, and then a quarter of the plate is coming from starches, carbohydrates, mostly complex carbohydrates, and then the other quarter is coming from lean protein. So in early stages for CKD, there's not a lot of restrictions, but it is about getting back to this balanced plate perception, which, that's not the way that most people typically eat, right? We don't usually see a plate with half veggies and only a quarter of it being protein. So it does feel kind of diety. It feels weird, but that's just because most people aren't following the general healthy recommendations. So that's where people kind of get thrown off by it. But it's just a matter of, yes, getting back to a healthy diet. And the most important thing too is that protein, about 25% of your plate, that's going to be like about the size of your palm or a little bit smaller. So that's one of the things that also kind of throws people off, because right now protein is just so encouraged in everything. I saw protein sodas and chips and candies and all kinds of things, but like, we don't need that much protein. Like, even like the palm size a few times a day is like, that's fine, because we're getting protein from other things too. Plants have protein in them as well. It's not an isolated thing. So yes, that is a very much an improved plan, especially for early stages when there's really not dietary restrictions beyond a low sodium diet, which is again just a regular heart healthy diet.
Awesome. And I just want to call out Kathleen. She says, hello from West Michigan. Hey, I'm outside Detroit right over here. So I'm on the other side of the state, down at the bottom, right down in here. I had to learn that whole Michigan thing with the hand when I moved here. Great to see somebody else from the state. Um, here's a great question, and we get this occasionally. So Deb asked, what can we do if our insurance will not pay for a nutritionist or a dietitian, which is a very, very common challenge.
Yeah, and it is kind of unfortunate that, it's up to these insurance companies on when they decide what they can cover and how much they'll cover and everything. So you can see dietitians out of pocket. So like Planned Parenthood Kidneys, we don't take insurance, but we provide what's known as a super bill after our services. And that's basically a medical receipt. So it gives you the codes, it gives you what the insurance company is looking for, and then you would submit it to the insurance company to see what they reimburse you for. I've had people who get 100% reimbursement, who get 20%, who get 50, like kind of all across the board, in between. So it depends on what your health insurance, what they'll cover. But I do have a blog article on plantpoweredkidneys.com. I believe if you search, I think it's if will my insurance cover a nutritionist, something along those lines. Maybe if you search insurance on the blog, we have like 100 blog articles. So yeah, if you search on there, then you should get the article, and it does give you like a step by step. Call here's who you call, here's what you ask, here's the notes that you should be taking down, and it just kind of walks you through the questions to ask. So I would definitely recommend that you check out that article because it gives you that script of these are the things to find out. These are the things to ask your insurance company. The other things are dietitians. We are also looking for other ways to provide support for people with kidney disease. So like I have Kidney Wellness Academy, and that is a program where you get 6 months of, you get the Q&As, you get the support with me, you get the whole program and everything, and you get lifetime access. And so I'm finding ways of teaching online classes that aren't under insurance, but give you basically the support and the information that you need. And then in the calls and in the community, I'm saying, okay, here are the questions that you can ask your doctor about, or here are the things that you can do for X, Y, and Z, or it's all different kinds of things that we cover. But there's a lot of different resources that you can find in working with dietitians, like Plant Powered Kidneys, to, go outside of the insurance. Cause yeah, it's tough. It's a very tough situation.
Yeah. And my doctors have been helpful. They can sometimes code one of my health conditions, such as being overweight, to get me a little bit of time with a dietitian. Also, I have a health savings account, and I take those receipts and I submit them. They just take a picture of the phone. I do it all online or through their app, and I've been reimbursed every single time through my HSA. I pay it, get the receipt, submit it towards my health savings account, and they've reimbursed me for it. So those are some other good options to look at. Now we are getting close to the end of our time, and here is I think an important question. Joan French says, is it okay to only eat half a bag of broccoli for lunch? That's all I eat. Is this healthy for my kidneys? Can you talk about that? It sounds healthy when you think of it. Oh, it's only broccoli. That's great. But can you help shed some light on this?
Yeah, and this is something that I hear a lot because ultimately it's coming from a place of being afraid of what to eat, right? Being afraid of, oh, I've been told I can't have this, I can't have this, I can't have this. I want you to take a step back and be looking at, okay, were you told specifically that you can't have X, Y, and Z foods? Or is it just diving too far into Dr. Google and you're reading all of this fearful stuff online, which, like I said, a lot of people are still sharing really outdated stuff. That's not true. Ultimately though, something like just having a vegetable for a meal, you're missing out on healthy fats. You're missing out on protein. Yes, even with CKD, you need protein. It's not that your body doesn't need protein. It's just that there's only so much that the kidneys are going to be safely taken care of. But your body still needs protein. And if you're not giving your body the protein, if you're not giving your body enough calories, it's going to hunt these things down because it needs them to thrive. It needs them to do all the things that it's doing to keep you alive. So it's going to be eating away your muscles. It's going to be breaking down your lean body mass, which is why I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm following maybe a vegan diet and I'm cutting all this stuff out, but I'm so hungry and I'm losing weight. You're not eating enough. Your body is showing you you're not eating enough because it's literally taking what it needs from you. It's taking from the only source that you're giving it, which is your muscles and your body. So make sure that you're including, yes, your vegetables. Awesome. That's so great. But include a healthy fat. So that could be maybe some like olive oil drizzled even over the broccoli, or it could be some avocado. It could be some nuts or some seeds. It could be, there's so many different options. Then make sure you have your carbohydrates. So you could have some rice or some pasta or potatoes or a slice of bread. There's a lot of different carbohydrate options too. And then your protein, whether it's some chicken or some fish or maybe some lean beef or some tofu or tempeh or edamame, or there's a lot of different protein options there, but really make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of nourishment. If you are eating or think that you don't know if you're eating enough, but you're losing weight and you don't want to, or you're not supposed to, because if you have kidney disease, it's not a great time to be trying to lose a lot of weight because you want to do it safely. You don't want your body to be breaking down your lean body mass. So I would definitely stress, be really, really careful and make sure you're getting plenty of nutrients, because cutting all these things out is not how you're protecting your kidneys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. Now we are out of time, and I want to bring up your book here again, because there's so much more in Jen's book, in her Facebook group. Here, I'm going to bring it up on the screen so it's really easy for everyone to see the title. I did make a shortcut that'll take you right to the book on Amazon. You just go to go.dadvicetv.com/Jen. But also in the description below this video on YouTube is the links to her Facebook group and to Jen's website, which is packed full of so much information, and it's all available free. Go there and start absorbing it. Empower yourself to not be afraid of what you're going to eat, to be excited and look forward to eating new things. I still haven't had a mushroom, Jen. Those of you that know, like 3 or 4 years ago, Jen talked about cooking these large mushrooms. I tried it once. I did a bad job. I said, one day I'm going to do it. One day I will, but I haven't done it yet. But I've learned so much from her group. So thank you, Jen, so much for being here, sharing your information. And Jen is here the first Tuesday of every month for half an hour to answer your questions right here live online. There's also an entire library of videos with her that you can go back and watch if you're new to kidney disease. So please like the video, share it. Let's help spread the word, get more people to PlantPoweredKidneys.com, get more people learning how they can enjoy eating while they happen to have kidney disease. All right. Thank you very much, Jen. This has been a wonderful end of 2025 for the two of us. But
2024.
We will be back in 2026. And I will be back on Thursday with Dr. Rosansky. There has been a lot of news, breakthrough news, about doctors making discoveries on how to reverse some kidney damage. And we're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into some information that came out in some studies, and what does that really mean for people who have kidney disease, and what's the future look like. That'll be this Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. All right. Thank you very much, Jen. And I'll see all of you in the next video. Bye, everyone.